Welcome, Pro Shop professionals and bowlers. I'm Steve Kloempken, Storm's Technical Director, and by now you've probably heard of our new Vector Layout System, or the VLS. We just completed a nationwide series of seminars where we actually introduced this powerful yet simple program to the bowling world. And today we're going to show you just how easy it is. To demonstrate the new VLS, we're going to use Louis Ouimet, Storm's Multimedia Director, as our example. Now Louis is going to be bowling the Open Championships in Reno shortly, so we're going to use the VLS to determine the proper layout in his new sink. We mentioned that Louis was going to be using the sink because it's a heavy oil tournament condition. So we enter the ball statistics here in the lower left. You can see the RG differential and PSA numbers are already loaded. And then what we need to do is enter Louis' PAP measurements. Now Louis is 5 3/8 over, which is 5.375, and he's 3/4 of an inch up, which would be 0.75. Next, we go to bowler statistics, and we click on ball speed. And knowing Louis' style, we know that he is a medium speed player, so we select medium. For rev rate, we also know as well that his rev rate is just under 300 RPM, so we'll select medium for that as well. Then we'll go to axis tilt. This relates to how the ball spins as it goes down the lane. So low tilt would be a very high track. High tilt would be a very low track like a spinner, and Louis falls somewhere in between there, so we'll go with average. Now axis rotation is in between, meaning that he's not up the back and he's not way off the side of the ball either. So up the back, our example would be Norm Duke when he's playing very straight. And then off the side would be Pete Weber, who gets a tremendous amount of side roll or axis rotation. So now we have our bowler statistics entered, we have the PAP measurements in, we also have the ball statistics in. Now again, we're looking at bowling in Reno for the Open Championships, so we know that the length is going to be a medium long to a long condition, 41 feet, so let's say that it's medium long. Now the volume of oil, because of, again, where we're at, we know that it's a heavy volume of oil by looking at the patterns on bowl.com, so we know what our condition is. And now we only have 4 more questions left to determine. So we're going to look at reaction strength. Now knowing the pattern and knowing Louis' style, and we know that a sink's going to be the appropriate ball, we're trying to decide how much flare do we want, how much potential of the reaction out of that core are we looking for. So again, knowing that it's nationals, we're probably going to go with somewhere in the medium to strong area. Louis does like to play a little bit more direct, though, so I know based off of his style that we're going to want to stick with medium for reaction strength. Now high RG, low RG layout, this is a very powerful part of the equipment. So when we're looking here, we're going to select here high RG or low RG. High RG are layouts where the pin is closer to the grip, which is going to have a tendency to skid and snap a little bit more. Low RG layouts are going to rev a little quicker and are going to be more arcing. So based off of Louis' style and the condition here, we're going to go with a low RG layout. And then transition length. Transition length relates to how quickly you want the bowling ball to actually read the lane. So very short would be a ball will attempt to change direction immediately. That would be a hockey stick type of a ball path. A very long transition length would be a much smoother, arcing, more of a banana-shaped motion at the break point. So for nationals, you don't want a hockey stick type of a reaction. Usually gets you in trouble. So we want to have it be a little bit smoother. So I would say medium long to a long transition. Let's go with medium long for this. And then reaction length relates to where do we want our break point to be. Do we want it to read the pattern before the end of the oil, right at the end, or after the end of the oil pattern? So nationals, again, usually you get in trouble if the reaction is too late, so we want it to read a little bit earlier. So we're going to go with a early reaction length. And that's it. It's that simple. The VLS does the rest of the work, and it shows the layout 2 1/2 by 6 1/2 by 1 1/2. So the pin's going to be a little closer to the axis. The PSA is going to be a little farther away, a little bit left of our thumb, based off of Louis' positive axis point. And then it's going to have an 1.5 inch pin buffer. So let's go map that out. We're going to go ahead and lay out the sink with a 2 1/2 by 6 1/2 by 1 1/2 layout. So our first step is going to be to draw an arc around the pin, 2 1/2 inches. Next, we draw an arc around the PSA 6.5 inches. And then lastly, we draw a second arc around the pin, 1.5 inches. Next, we take our prosect and we find the spot, we draw the line that is just tangent to our second arc, which is our pin buffer arc, and intersects this point of our first two arcs. This is going to be our VAL for Louis. Next, we reverse the coordinates. So we go down 3/4 of an inch. Then we measure back across to find Louis' grip center, which would be 5 3/8 inches. And then we draw Louis' center line of his grip. Note the grip center. And we're ready to start drilling. We drilled Louis a sink for Reno because it's a tournament condition. It's heavier oil, it's a little longer pattern, and also for this year's Open Championships, they're using a new lane conditioner which is a little bit thicker, and the lanes are going to play a little bit tighter. That's why it's important to have your equipment ready to go. You want to make sure that you use a stronger bowling ball, say a sink would be a good choice, a Rain of Power would also be a good ball, or even for our friends at Roto Grip, the Defiant Soul would be another good choice. You'll also want to make sure that your cover stocks are prepared with the proper surface. So don't be afraid to use 1,000 grit pad even. Maybe 2,000 if you're a medium to higher rev player, but even all the way down to 1,000, some may even require 500 to get that ball into a good heavy roll because of the lane conditions. New oil, a little bit longer pattern, thicker oil, it's a harder synthetic lane surface. All of these things tell us that we need to be ready with our arsenal. In a Storm Sink or a Rain of Power or Defiant Souls, a great way to go.